Hey skiers, I'm Jeff from Skiessentials.com. Welcome to episode 37 of our Top 5 Fridays ski industry news videos. Just a couple of quick announcements before we get into the news. The first being that we're still in the entry period of the Nordica Ski Happy photo contest, giving away a pair of Enforcer 88s. So head on over to the Ski Happy page if you haven't checked that out already. Enter some photos and you could potentially win an Enforcer 88. We'll likely do another Nordica ski review next week. So if there's a particular ski that you want us to take a look at, maybe drop it in the comments, and who knows, maybe that'll be the ski that we do. I haven't quite decided which ski to take a look at. There's a couple that I would personally like to do, but yeah, we'll see. And then thought I would also just drop in a quick note. Atomic announced some new skis, basically new all-mountain collections for 2022. You may have seen the ads. You may have seen an ad for them before this video. But yeah, the men's are the Mavericks, the women's are the Mavens. And we were actually out testing the Mavic 100 Ti this morning. So good chance you'll see some content, probably a review on those next week as well. So just thought we would throw that out there as something that we've been up to lately. And then yeah, with that we can get straight into the news. Pretty quick news week, so we'll probably fly right through things, I think. First are some FIS updates, as we often do on the specifically the alpine side of FIS. Two men's races, two slalom races, and then two women's giant slalom races since the last time we talked. Unfortunately, no U.S. podiums over those four races. Michaela Schifrin did pick up a sixth in both the GS races, and Nina O'Brien was 13th in both as well, which notably is her best GS finish ever. So that's pretty exciting to see. The U.S. women just continue to impress, both on the alpine and Nordic side, as we talked about last week, which is really, really cool to see. Couple Super G and downhill races upcoming. And interestingly, Lindsey Vonn is going to join the broadcasting team for the women's races in Switzerland. So I think that's really cool. You know, last week we talked about that quick Instagram clip of Lindsey Vonn hitting some park jumps, and here she is again, kind of pretty darn involved in the ski industry. So yeah, I'm really happy to see that, and I think she would be really interesting to have on the broadcast team. You know, we'd get some kind of anecdotal information or like an athlete perspective, and you know, it hasn't been that long at all since she was in the starting gate. So I always think it's cool to get that perspective from somebody who's been there. So pretty exciting for that. And yeah, I think Lindsey Vonn as an announcer will be pretty cool. And then the second topic of the week, we're going to just call this kind of continued COVID issues in Europe. Specifically the dynamic between France and Switzerland right now. The Washington Post has a really good article on this that like goes really in depth on the dynamic that's happening right now. Essentially, French ski resorts had been hoping to open on February 1st, but recently the nation's tourism minister announced that would not be happening, and that even mid to late February is still unlikely. So that's unfortunately kind of putting the entire ski season in France in jeopardy, which would be a real bummer if they don't get to spin the lifts this year. Now, interestingly, just across the border, as we've talked about over the past few weeks, Switzerland is running their lifts, which is creating just like a stark contrast between what's happening in Switzerland and what's happening in France. Lots of reports of the crowds in Switzerland being in excess of what they would be in a non-COVID season. And I think ski resort managers and owners and ski shop people and everybody that owns or operates a business or works for a business that benefits from ski tourism, like it's pretty hard being located in France and just looking like right over the border at what's happening in Switzerland. Just like a stark contrast in the economic effects of what's going on over there. So I would encourage you to check out that article from Washington Post if you want to read more about it, and we will continue to kind of keep an eye on what's happening over there. Yeah, just really, really fascinating. You know, it would be like if, I feel like a good analogy would be like if Vermont just closed down all of our ski areas, but New Hampshire kept everything open. Like those New Hampshire resorts would get mobbed with people. So pretty interesting. Third topic of the week is an exciting one. If you recall from the summer, this was probably my favorite topic throughout the summer, and it revolves around the Little Cottonwood Canyon traffic congestion issue. So we talked about this quite a bit over the summer. There were multiple proposals and then like a secondary round of proposals of different ways to solve the issue of just way too much traffic going through Little Cottonwood Canyon. Really, really slow. Like sometimes it takes a really long time to get through there. Sometimes you can't get through there at all. And recently we heard that the state governor is actually leaning towards the gondola option, which I always thought was the best option, partly because I just like great feats of engineering like that. I think it's cool to build a really big gondola system instead of just like widening a road and letting a bus go up it. To me, the gondola is fun to watch, but it really did seem like the most efficient way to solve the problem and the most cost-effective way to solve the problem. If you recall, in the summer, we were looking at like different cost breakdowns, how many people that would get up, and I think the coolest thing about the gondola, or one of the coolest things, is that if they have to close the pass, you'll still be able to get to the mountains. So, yeah, I was really excited to see that update. And hopefully sooner than later we get a little Cottonwood Canyon gondola system, which I would just have to go take a trip and see in person and ride, because that would be super cool. And then the Freeride World Tour gave us some updates on their latest competition plans. This has kind of been like an ongoing saga over the past few months about like what stops they're going to do, how many stops they're going to do, what the qualification period is going to be. And right now we have 3 confirmed events, one in Andorra, one in Austria, and one in Switzerland. Organizers are working on adding a 4th and 5th stop, but if you remember, they're doing everything in Europe this year, so those 4th and 5th stops would have to be somewhere in Europe. And now we still have some uncertainty around the cutoff or the qualification period to get into like the final events. So what they're saying now is if they find a 4th or 5th event, the cutoff will be after the 3rd event. If it remains 3 events, the cutoff will be after the 2nd event. And we're about a month away from the first stop of this season's Freeride World Tour. So hopefully they can get at least a 4th stop, which would ensure that all athletes can compete through the 3 stops. And then interestingly, Verbier, the Switzerland stop, is getting a 1.5x point modifier. So that will be the most important stop in terms of qualifying for the remainder of the tour. So pretty exciting. This is always really entertaining to watch. Just fantastic skiing, a very different spectator experience than watching a FIS GS race or something like that. So pretty cool. And then on another note, but not technically part of this week's news, the X Games will start, I think, on Thursday. So we'll be able to talk about X Games stuff next Friday, which is another kind of that would be another difference in a spectator experience, and something that I always look forward to. As a reminder, X Games is not going to have any in-person spectators this year, so it'll be interesting to see how that affects the dynamic, especially in like nighttime events like halfpipe and big air, where traditionally there's been like a pretty large crowd at the bottom that kind of feels like it gets the athletes fired up. But those guys are all like young and crazy, and I'm sure they'll all get fired up anyways. And then lastly, we have our edits of the week. First up is about 8 minutes long. It's called Utah to BC, and it's basically entirely with the Faction Collective crew. As you can imagine, it's some really, really good skiing, a lot of backcountry jumps, a lot of backcountry skiing in general. Faction's team just traditionally has very, very talented skiers, all with very unique styles of their own. And I think this really showcases that. Second edit of the week is from Jesper Tjäder. It's opening day of the park in Åre, Sweden. And I thought the best part about this was it's just got like a very smooth, relaxed vibe, which is something that I value as a 34-year-old park skier. Smooth and relaxed is pretty much the only way I can do it anymore. So nice to see Jesper kind of with some really smooth skiing. Then we have Checkerhead from Burlaps and Line Skis. Line Skis put this up on their YouTube account. In a lot of ways, it's very similar to the edit from the Faction guys, similar length, similar terrain and conditions, just different skiers. So kind of fun to see the difference in those athletes and how they approach terrain like that. And then the last edit of the week may be one of the most entertaining things I've seen in a while. It's from Alex Ferreira, and it's called Hot Dog and Hans. And you pretty much just have to watch it. I don't think I can do it justice by describing it in words. I'll just say it's really entertaining. And Alex is a fantastic skier and apparently quite a good actor as well. So that's it. Top 5 Fridays for the week. Hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. Hopefully you guys are able to get out on snow. Keep your eye out for those reviews next week like I talked about. We have a bunch more test days with different brands over the next few weeks. So we should have some exciting stuff to share and hopefully some exciting reviews to come out in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So we'll talk to you guys soon, and we'll see you guys out there on the slopes.